Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we meet again for our live session today. Our topic would be discussing on chapter 4. The topic is a government system. Okay, thank you for those who participate. Hope you always be alert during the class session. Okay, let's look at what we have in the government system. Number one is about the structure itself. We're going to highlight how the government looks like. Okay, as we know, after we gain independent from British, Tanah Melayu become a free country. Later on, we get some idea to consolidate with other neighbors country, including Sabah, Sarawak, Brunei and Singapore. But end up right now, we only have these three states. Okay. And later on, we have divided into 14 states overall, including Sabah and Sarawak. And from that formation, we need to form a new government system. And from this chapter, we're going to learn and refresh how the government system run. Okay. As you can see from the notes, I highlighted separation of power. Our government focuses on different power for everyone. This is to avoid absolute power. Bila kita bercerita pasal pemisahan dan pengasingan kuasa, kita sebenarnya sedang cuba mengelakkan kuasa mutlak berada hanya pada satu tangan sahaja. Okay. And I need you to write down the notes where how we separate the power. We have divided into Council of Rulers, Executive, Legislative and Judiciary. Okay, to understand this concept, you need to know that our country combine two concepts as if the British time. And number one, maybe because we granted the independence from them, and number two, we feel that our country is kind of having the same style from this Europe land, because they maintain the power of kings, and they do add up the administration power. So to relate with our country, we use kind of the same system, which is the constitutional monarchy. Boleh tulis constitutional monarchy. Waalaikumsalam. Bella, what do you mean bila start? Pukul 9 lah. Okay, constitutional monarchy means that our king need to follow constitution. Raja berperlembagaan. Kalau kita belajar kat surah dulu, kita gunakan term raja berperlembagaan. Okay. And the other concept that we combine is parliamentary democracy. Parliamentary democracy. So how to understand these two concepts? It divide into the other highlighted point, where constitutional monarchy would refer to the Council of Rulers. Raja berperlembagaan akan lebih berkait dengan Majlis Raja. Council of Rulers here mean Majlis Raja. So as we know, we want to maintain the king's power. The king rules the country. At the same time, we want to avoid from only solely power given to the king. So we add up the parliamentary democracy, where comes the other term, executive, legislative, and judiciary. Badan eksekutif, badan legislatif, dan badan judiciary. Okay. Eksekutif is badan pentadbir, legislatif badan perundangan, dan judiciary badan kehakiman. So these two concepts we combine to form our government. So our government runs through these two concepts. Maksudnya Majlis Raja-Raja akan bersidang untuk memilih agung setiap 5 tahun sekali, dan agung ialah ketua negara kita. Kemudian ditadbir oleh 3 kuasa yang lain ni. Yang mana 3 yang lain ni berada di bawah konsep parliamentary demokrasi, iaitu pilihan kepimpinan. Nak membandingkan, we want to compare these two concepts. For kings, it's inheritance, warisan. Untuk raja adalah konsep warisan. Bermaksud raja dilantik berdasarkan susur galur keturunan. Only those who have the royal blood, those who are Malay, those should be Muslim, and all the other criteria is there to be a king. And to be the agung, they must follow the consent of these councils of rulers. Macam tu. So majlis raja-raja ni adalah terdiri daripada sultan. Sultan adalah kuasa yang diwarisi. Dan contoh paling terkini, we have Sultan Abdullah elected to be the agung, getting his power from his father, which is Sultan Ahmad. Sultan Ahmad, negeri Pahang, mewariskan kuasanya kepada Sultan Abdullah. Dan sampai masa Sultan Abdullah dilantik oleh Majlis Raja-Raja menjadi agung. Alright. Alright, actually we just start. This is the first slide. And if you look into our slide, this is number 1. Maknanya still barulah, Bella sebenarnya. Okay, thank you for your sharing. And then we continue on the demokrasi berparlimen. So demokrasi berparlimen adalah pilihan kepimpinan, where this is depend on the citizen, and we, the people, through election, we choose our leaders, especially during the election period. Okay. So, just to get some idea, we do have election coming soon on this weekend. They want to elect the Slim Don. So, as we know, the concept of parliamentary democracy using the power of the people to choose the leadership. Okay, those people who won the election would be provide their power and their place, or we call the seat, in the parliament. That is why we call demokrasi berparlimen. Demokrasi ialah pilihan, parlimen ialah kepimpinan. Siapa yang kita pilih semasa pilihan raya dan memenangi hati rakyat ketika itu akan diberi tempat di dalam parlimen. Terutamanya bila kita pilih parlimen seat, kerusi parlimen. Macam tu. Oh, yes, of course. Normally, usually I do call you, but just to and observe your focus and commitment. Yeah. So I just start because there's normally the time that we begin our class. Okay. From that, from executive level that being chosen throughout the election, the people's power, they are the one that formulate the law. Badan eksekutif dan badan legislatif adalah kelompok yang sama, iaitu mereka yang menang pilihan raya dan berada di dalam kerusi parlimen. Mereka bertanggungjawab menggubal dasar. Eksekutif pelaksana, write down, badan pelaksana, badan pentadbir. Dalam masa sama, yang mentadbir ini jugalah yang menggubal dasar, yang meluluskan undang-undang. Okey, contoh, for example, dasar pendidikan. So within the parliament, Menteri Pendidikan berbincang to build up a policy, and this policy need to run by them. That's how it is. Okay. So pemimpin yang berada dalam parlimen tadi, yang memenangi hati rakyat tadi, mereka bertanggungjawab untuk menjalankan dasar-dasar kerajaan. Antara dasar yang paling utama adalah dasar ekonomi, termasuklah dasar yang lain seperti dasar pendidikan, dasar pertanian, dasar perindustrian. So just to make sure that our country runs towards becoming a better country, advanced nation, so they formulate all those policy from the power of legislative, and by that they are also the one who implement the policy. Okay, hopefully you can get what I mean from that. And how about judiciary levels? They are the one who execute law. They are the one who take action if anyone breaking the law. They observe those people who implement the law, whether they doing it correctly or in the wrong way. Of course, they are responsible to make sure it runs smoothly. But let's say during the time they manage to perform all those action, we can identify certain problems or corruption and maybe abuse of power. So the judiciary level would take action to rectify and justify those things and put them into justice. Okay. Badan kehakiman bertanggungjawab untuk melihat dan memastikan pelaksana menjalankan dasar yang mereka gubal. Andai kata berlaku permasalahan ataupun penyalahgunaan kuasa ataupun penyelewengan, maka badan kehakimanlah yang akan mengambil tindakan seterusnya. untuk mendapatkan kepastian juga menjalankan hukuman. Alright? So that's how. Okay. Hopefully you get it. Okay, let's continue. We go detail on what is Council of Rulers. Number one is the highest position, includes all kings. My question would be, how many kings that we have? Tadi kita bincang Malaysia dah bergabung dan membentuk 14 negeri. Dalam 14 negeri ini, berapa ramai raja yang kita ada? Hopefully you try to answer that one. Okay, later on I'll present to you the answer. Okay, from all the kings that we have in our country, we're going to select the highest one, which is Yang di-Pertuan Agong. And as mentioned there, he is the supreme head of state. This country lead by him, and going to be elected every 5 years. So changing of Agong every 5 years. But of course, we can see certain Agong is finishing the position earlier than what it should be, and this consider maybe there are some issue to consider. Okay, for example, like our previous Agong, where he stepped down before the time's end. Okay. And then the most power that he have is to appoint a prime minister. As we can see what happened and recently, when for the first time in history our prime minister resigned from the post, so the function of Council of Rulers take place. They had a meeting, they discussed, and they come into conclusion to select a new prime minister without through new election, normal general election. So what to do? This is the elected from the Council of Ruler itself. Yang di-Pertuan Agong bersama dengan majlis raja dia ketika berlaku satu perubahan besar dalam negara kita, di mana Perdana Menteri meletakkan jawatan, akhirnya mereka terpaksa mendatangkan satu keputusan untuk melantik Perdana Menteri yang baru, dan ini adalah keputusan raja-raja. Kalau tadi kita bincangkan Perdana Menteri, iaitu kepimpinan kita adalah hasil daripada pilihan rakyat, tapi kali ini adalah pilihan raja. Macam tu. Of course, dia ada kaitan juga. Tetap dipilih daripada mereka yang berada dalam parlimen. Alright. Hope is very clear. Continue. One by one, we look into the bodies that administrate and manage our country. Number one is executive. It divides into several levels. Number one is federal. Federal mean the center, persekutuan. So, mereka yang berada di pusat, yang memenangi pilihan raya dan duduk dalam parlimen, dan mereka adalah majority parti yang memenangi pilihan raya, maka mereka akan berada di kalangan pentadbir pusat. So, who are they? We call cabinets and all the ministries. Cabinet, of course, yang paling atas sekali ialah Perdana Menteri. Seperti mana yang kita belajar sebelum ni, Perdana Menteri yang dilantik oleh Agong tadi akan pula melantik ahli kabinetnya. Siapa dia? Contoh, timbalan Perdana Menteri. Kemudian, menteri-menteri yang lain. Okey. Cuma, berlaku perubahan pada pentadbir mengikut kaedah Perdana Menteri itu sendiri. Kan? And untuk kali pertama juga, kan, when this Prime Minister been selected by Agong, and through this a bit of havoc issue, he elected the other way, the other style. Kan? Cara dia memilih kabinetnya sedikit berlainan, iaitu Perdana Menteri dibantu oleh Menteri Kanan di dalam kabinet dia. Yang mana sebelum ni kita ada, kan, timbalan Perdana Menteri dan sebagainya. Okay. Do you remember any ministry that we have? Apakah kementerian yang ada? Dan berapa banyakkah kementerian sebenarnya? Kan? So, maybe we do remember the famous one. Like Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, Kementerian Wanita dan Keluarga, Kementerian Pendidikan, Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi, Kementerian Kewangan, Kementerian Kerja Raya. Okay, for example. So, a list down of 24 ministry that we have, total of all. And each of them has different portfolio. Okay, coming to this, and you need to remember that to look at the books. So, if you have the books, and we have the details, all those portfolio mean their job and their roles in each of every ministry that we have. 24 kementerian yang ada setakat hari ini, dan setiap kementerian mempunyai tugas peranan masing-masing yang dipanggil sebagai portfolio. Dan tugas mereka adalah untuk berkhidmat kepada rakyat. This is the public service that they need to perform. So, for example, Belia dan Sukan akan fokus kepada pembangunan belia dan perkembangan sukan. Wanita dan Keluarga akan memberi tumpuan kepada pembinaan kerjaya wanita dan membela nasib keluarga yang tertindas. Contoh, Menteri Kerja Raya mungkin lebih tertumpu kepada infrastruktur, kan? Kemudahan awam. Okay. Menteri Pendidikan dan Pengajian Tinggi, of course, lebih memberi keutamaan kepada pembelajaran dan juga pencapaian pelajar. Okay. So, this is a part of their roles to service the public. Okay, next one. Other than federal level, we do have the state level. During the election, if you are there, you have the experience, so you know that there are parliament seat and there are state seats. Ada kerusi parlimen dan ada kerusi DUN. Yang state tadi adalah DUN. So DUN tadi refer dekat state kat sini. Those people who won the state seat, they're going to become exco and manage the district given to them. Contohnya, kalau katalah di Gombak ni, kita ada Parlimen Gombak yang merangkumi Selayang, Batu Cave. And then, whether they are managing the parliament, which is the federal, or they want the DUN seat, they will manage the district. Contohnya, siapa yang menang DUN Gombak, siapa yang menang DUN Ampang. Mungkin cara mudah kita nak membayangkan DUN ialah seperti mana kita ada majlis perbandaran, macam tu. Kita kata MBSA contohnya, Majlis Bandaraya Shah Alam. So Shah Alam, Dun Shah Alam. Macam tu. Ataupun MPS, kan? Majlis Perbandaran Selayang, Dun Selayang. Macam tu lah. MPAJ and so on. Ampang Jaya, kan? Dan Petaling Jaya dan sebagainya. So those people who win those election during the election time, they are going to be in the state level. So dalam negeri pula kita ada menteri besar. Menteri besar ada dia punya EXCO. So EXCO itulah yang dilantik daripada siapakah yang menang dan lihat majoriti parti yang menang. Okay? Okay. And what are their roles? Very important. Part of the administrate is the land, water and forest. Ini contoh apa yang perlu ditadbir oleh EXCO di negeri masing-masing. Antaranya ialah berkaitan dengan tanah, pengurusan air dan juga berkaitan dengan hutan. Ini contoh saja. Right. Okay. Under this state, they also have local department. Maksudnya ada jabatan tempatan. So mereka akan bertugas di jabatan tempatan masing-masing. Macam saya sebut tadi lah. Ada MPS, ada MPAJ, apa lagi? Ada MBSA. So it depends on where they win the election. Katalah saya ni alamat Seri Gombak. Saya orang Gombak. Satu hari nanti saya nak bertanding. So saya bertanding di Dun Gombak. Dan kalau saya menang dalam pertandingan tu, saya akan menguruskan hal ehwal Gombak. Okay. And they also responsible to the city council. Ada majlis tempatan tadi. Okay. Majlis negeri tu. Okay. So what they do, they need to make sure that the state runs smoothly. 23 campur Jabatan Perdana Menteri. Okay. Saja saya letak 24 because it's include Jabatan Perdana Menteri. Get it? Alright, next. Regional and villages. Dan pada setiap kawasan bandar ada pecahan dan juga kampung dia. Pekan dan kampung lah kita panggil. Dan juga daerah. Kota. Macam tu. For example, like if you are in Perak, you have the district of Ipoh, for example. And this region is under the capital city. And maybe you have Taipei, you have Selama, you have Teluk Intan. What else do you have? Parit Bunta. Okay. So they need to manage their own land. Okay. Get it? I hope you understand how the executive body runs through federal and state level. Okay. Any question? Continue on legislative, where we talk about they are the one who implement the policy, kan? Mereka lah orang yang menggubal tadi, dasar. Okay. Come back to the details. Federal level, we call parliament. Siapa yang mengubah dasar? Mereka yang berada dalam parlimen tadi. Terutamanya yang mentadbir tu. Siapa dia? Yang menang pilihan raya, parti majoriti. Mereka jugalah kabinet dan menterinya. Dan mereka akan bentangkan cadangan, draft di parlimen tadi, dan akan dibahaskan untuk dijadikan dasar andai semua setuju melebihi majority. Macam tu. Okay. In Parliament, it divide into two level pula, which is Senate and Dewan Rakyat. Senate we call Dewan Negara, and Dewan Rakyat is representative. Okay. Yang mana yang berada dalam kerusi Parlimen tadi, yang menang pilihan raya di dalam seluruh negeri Malaysia ni, mereka akan duduk dalam Parlimen dan mereka akan jadi kabinet dan mereka akan bentangkan cadangan dasar. Dan mereka lah juga yang melaksanakan dasar tadi. Okey. Apa tugas Dewan Negara? Untuk memantau Dewan Rakyat. Maknanya level Dewan Negara tinggi lagi daripada Dewan Rakyat. They have a higher position than the Dewan Rakyat. So, what Dewan Rakyat will debate for need to be looked into and approved by Dewan Negara before it's going to be an approval of law. Macam tu. Sebelum perundangan dan hukum tadi diluluskan, perlu melalui Dewan Negara yang lebih tinggi daripada Dewan Rakyat. Okay, they are the one who set the law. We call enactment. Bila undang-undang tadi dah dimaktubkan, maka diberi enactment. And of course, the process need to be draft. We have several readings. Third actually, ada 3 kali bacaan mengikut peraturan dan akhirnya barulah diluluskan. Alright, that's the power of legislative. Okay, continue. For the state level, they have DUN and ADUN, Dewan Undangan Negeri, yang mana diketahui oleh ahli Dewan Undangan Negeri tu. Dan kalau di Parlimen tadi, Dewan Rakyat yang akan menggubal dasar undang-undang, tapi di kawasan negeri akan digubal oleh DUN tadi, iaitu ESCO tadi. And of course, the allocation by the kings, raja setiap negeri tadi akan memberi peruntukan untuk mengubah dasar dan dipantau oleh raja setiap negeri itu. And of course, it requires certain group matters. The kings will give the allocation to handle several matters, including the land just now, the water and other infrastructure that need to make sure that the state economy runs smoothly, especially to upgrade their own levels. Macam tu. Okay, get it? Senang je. Kalau di kerajaan pusat, Parlimen. Kalau di kerajaan negeri, DUN tadi. Next, judiciary. Okay, the one who have the highest power in judiciary is judge, hakim, ketua hakim negara kita. Execute law, iaitu melaksanakan undang-undang yang telah digubal tadi. And very important, this is their role, is to uphold justice. Perlunya mereka yang berada dalam badan kehakiman ini menegakkan undang-undang. Pelaksanaan undang-undang di dalam kuasa kehakiman ini perlulah menunjukkan betapa adilnya perjalanan negara Malaysia kita. Bersama dan berserta dengan mereka adalah magistrate dan lawyer. So normally, those people who take the law, they're going to become lawyer. They have this ambition, and later on they might be upgrade themselves, become a magistrate, and maybe later on they could be selected as a judge if they are perform in their area. And under judiciary, of course, you already heard about court, and court divide into again federal and state. Ada mahkamah, dan mahkamah terbagi kepada persekutuan atau pusat dan juga setiap negeri. Okay. Contoh di bawah syariah dan custom, which is the power of the state level. Okay, saja saya pergi state dulu. Differences between syariah and custom under the state level of court. Setiap negeri ada mahkamah negeri, dan contoh mahkamah negeri dia mengawal syariah. Sebab kuasa syariah adalah tertakluk kepada perundangan negeri. Meaning, different state might have different kind of syariah rules of law, including custom. Custom normally for Sabah and Sarawak because they abide by their own custom, by their own culture. Dan kita dah setuju Sabah Sarawak tertakluk kepada pentadbiran adat budaya mereka, berbanding dengan kita di Semenanjung lebih tertumpu kepada perundangan Islam setiap negeri. That is why sometimes the process in the Islamic rulings of every state, you can see some minor differences. And for example, like the most that we might hear of is nikah kahwin cerai. Permohonan dan juga kelulusan bergantung kepada kaedah pelaksanaan setiap negeri. Contoh paling mudah, katalah kita membincangkan perihal poligami. Ada yang membenarkan poligami tanpa perlu mendapat kebenaran isteri. Contoh. Ada pula yang diminta supaya mendapat pengetahuan isteri. Macam tu. Okay. And maybe ada juga negeri yang mudah urusan agama tersebut, dan ada juga negeri yang sedikit ketat dalam urusan agama tu. Okay. Get it? Alright. Continue. This is focusing on the federal court. Kita nak tengok kat sini adalah mahkamah pusat, yang mana paling tinggi adalah Supreme, Mahkamah Agung. Dan Mahkamah Agung kita ada Mahkamah Rayuan, Appellate, Appeal, dan Mahkamah Tinggi, High Court. As we know, just to give you some example, the biggest case that been now in the court is the 1MDB corruption. And as we know too, the decision have been made that our ex-Prime Minister Najib Razak have been sentenced to prison, but because he can appeal to the higher court, so he might delay the sentence. Bila hukuman dah jatuh di mahkamah tinggi, boleh merayu di mahkamah yang lebih tinggi lagi, iaitu Mahkamah Rayuan. Okay. Selain pada Mahkamah Agung, mahkamah yang tinggi ini, kita ada juga lower, lower court, tapi masih lagi di bawah kuasa persekutuan. Contohnya seperti Mahkamah Juvana dan Mahkamah Seksyen. Ini untuk beberapa kesalahan yang rendah sedikit daripada Mahkamah Tinggi punya perbicaraan. Ada juga Special Court, Mahkamah khas, iaitu untuk tentera dan juga untuk kerabat diraja, royal and military. Other than that, we do have the industrial court and labor court. Ada juga mahkamah industri, kalau kesalahan berlaku di peringkat factory, kilang, ataupun ada perbicaraan berkaitan dengan pekerja dengan majikan, kita ada mahkamah labor, mahkamah buruh kita panggil. Okay, the style that need to be implemented by judiciary body is the freedom of their own bodies, meaning no one can interrupt the justice system. Kena pastikan mereka yang berada dalam badan kehakiman bebas daripada pengaruh, terutamanya politik kepimpinan. Macam yang kita bicarakan hari inilah, when people look at our ministry, ada menteri yang telah mencabar undang-undang dengan melanggar akta kuarantin. Nak dibandingkan hukumannya dengan rakyat yang juga melanggar peraturan kuarantin, kelihatan seperti berat sebelah. Sangat perlu bidang badan bahagian kehakiman menunjukkan kebebasan dari pengaruh politik. And of course they need to play the rules. What are the rules? To uphold justice. Mesti menegakkan keadilan, terutamanya pada perkara-perkara yang boleh berlaku penyelewengan. Termasuk juga apa-apa denda, hukuman yang dikenakan pada rakyat. Contoh yang paling baru lagi, we can see the viral of one police traffic kind of doing some outlaw action. Mereka sepatutnya melaksanakan undang-undang, tapi kelihatan mereka telah melanggari undang-undang, mencabul undang-undang. Maka mereka perlulah dijalankan perbicaraan keadilan tadi. Sebab apa kuasa seorang polis trafik untuk menendang penunggang motosikal? Tahan boleh. Kalau mereka contohnya melanggari roadblock, they try to escape from this roadblock, they might be fine, we can sue them. But when you show that that kind of action, you are too breaking the law, macam tu. Alright. Question? If you have, please ask. Okay, we almost finished. System that we want to discuss, other than what I have elaborated so long and explained to you, is the parliamentary democracy itself. I hope by now you understand what is it. So, let's look at the question, what it means, how it functions, why it's vital, where it used, who it involved. So this would be your next task, untuk jawab soalan-soalan ini. So, apakah yang dimaksudkan dengan parliamentary demokrasi tadi? Apa fungsi demokrasi berparlimen ni? Penting ke kita menggunakan konsep ini berbanding dengan negara lain yang menggunakan presidential konsep and monarchy konsep? And where it used, kat mana digunakan, dan akhirnya siapakah yang terlibat dalam sistem parliamentary demokrasi ini. Okay, any question? Next slide, you can see this is your task today to answer the question and put it in a mind map in the form of PowerPoint. So your task today is to go through the question and try to answer all of it at the best that you can, putting all the points, elaborate the content, okay, try to show your understanding of the question and the concept, and be creative in doing the mind map using the PowerPoint. You can have several slides as you wish. How many is up to you, and of course in English. And later on you can upload in the portal. I will open the tab for you as usual in the forum section, so you can look at your friend notes, get some idea, and how your friend do the slides, and how it's supposed to be managing the PowerPoint, and hopefully you can show some attractiveness, and as audience we look into your slide, we become interesting, to study more, to read more, to get info from it. Alright? Okay guys, come back to the earlier question. How many kings that we have? The best way to answer this question is to look in all the states in our country. Let's look from the north region. Perlis. Is there any king in Perlis? Yes, there is. Perlis ada raja. Below Perlis we have Kedah. Do we have kings in Kedah? Yes, Sultan Kedah. Beside Kedah, in the east side, we have Kelantan. Ada Sultan Kelantan? Ada. Below Kelantan we have Terengganu. Ada Sultan Terengganu? Yes, ada. Bawah lagi kita ada Pahang. Of course, Sultan Pahang ada. South, Johor. Semua orang kenal, kan? Sultan Johor. Up sikit daripada Johor, naik balik towards the north. This is the west side, pantai barat kita. Melaka. Melaka, no Sultan. Kita dah pernah bincang awal, Sultan Melaka mangkat di Julang ketika tu. Okay. The above later on is Negeri Sembilan. Ada Sultan? Ada. Kita panggil yang di-Pertuan. Atas pada Negeri Sembilan kita ada Selangor. Selangor ada Sultan? Yes, Sultan Selangor. Atas Selangor kita ada Perak. Dah utara balik dah, Sultan Perak. Ada satu pulau kat situ, Penang. Ada Sultan Penang? No Sultan. So berapa? Kata Bella 10. Is it 10 everyone? Kira betul-betul? Macam silap itu. List down the state that I have mentioned just now having Sultan. Number 1, apa tadi? Perlis. Number 2, Kedah. Number 3, Kelantan. Number 4, Terengganu. Number 5, Pahang. Number 6, Johor. 7, we skip Melaka. So Negeri Sembilan, and then Selangor, and then Perak without Penang. Yes, we have 9 kings. You are correct. Tu dia, 12, 7 kan. Ni rakyat Malaysia ke? Kan. Tertanya pula. Kan. We consider ourselves Malaysian, but kan, at this point we still confused how many kings that we have. Kan. Whereas Malay really abide by the rules of the king. Kan. Orang Melayu ni sangat-sangatlah mendaulatkan rajanya. Kan. So bila kita daulatkan raja, berapa orang raja sebenarnya kita ada. And among these 9 of the kings, consider they are the part of members of Council of Rulers, Majlis Raja tadi. Dan 9 orang ni lah yang akan bergilir-gilir. 9 negeri ni lah yang akan bertukar ganti menjadi agung kita setiap 5 tahun sekali. Dan setakat ni dah ada berapa dah? Kira Sabah Sarawak Sabah Sarawak dia tak ada sultan, tak ada raja. Dia from the beginning they only have Sultan Brunei that covers a part of Sabah. For Sarawak only Raja Putih, iaitu James Brooke dululah. And not considered as sultan. Semua negeri bukan semua negeri lah sebenarnya ada hanya 9 negeri saja. Okay, any other question if you have? Hopefully that you get what I tried to deliver today, and through that you understand the concept of rulings in our country. So now some of the information that you have would be knowing how the government runs from the top of the management for the country. Starting at the highest point is Yang di-Pertuan Agong, get help, assist by the cabinet, which is Prime Minister and his ministry, and each of the state they have chief ministry and help assist by his ESCO. And then both of these federal and state are selected through the election that they won from the people's heart. And from that, we divide into very important bodies, which is executive, legislative, and judiciary for both federal and state. Understand what is executive, those who implement the law. Understand legislative, those who making the law. And understanding judiciary, those who execute the law. Badan pelaksana ialah yang melaksanakan dasar. Badan legislatif ialah mereka yang menggubal dasar. Dan badan judiciary kehakiman, mereka lah yang menjalankan ataupun memantau perundangan dasar tadi. Alright. Okay, I think that's it for today. Any other question? Oh, sorry. Saya masuk slide lain. So sorry. Okay. The other last hour that you have is to fulfill and complete the task, and hopefully by the end of the class you can submit it in the portal. I will open the forum tab as usual. Thank you so much for your attention, and any matters we can discuss in the group WhatsApp. Bye. Assalamualaikum.